For 30 years, the Cameron Senior Center has been serving the residents of the community of Westford, Massachusetts. But the history of the Cameron Center is birthed in the very history of Forge Village and the namesake of the center, Alan Cameron. Alan Cameron was born in 1823 in Alness, Ross-shire, Scotland. Emigrated to the United States in 1843, where he became immersed in the textile industry. He purchased interest in the Abbott Worsted Mill and became an industry leader in textiles, being the first to manufacture using camel's hair in the U.S., and he was known worldwide for his knowledge of wool. As the financier of the Abbott Mill, he took a great interest in the town of Westford. The Abbott Worsted Mill developed a catchphrase which was the spirit of cooperation. Under the guidelines of this catchphrase, it was thought that if the mill cared for the needs and welfare of their workers, those workers would, in turn, tend to their responsibilities at the mill. In the spirit of cooperation, the mill went on to build 250 houses which the mill workers could purchase, a baseball field, a lakeside recreation area. Eventually, the mill would go on to provide movie screenings, organize trips, health care, and infrastructure for the village, including schools. Schoolhouse number 3 was originally a brick schoolhouse built in 1851. Alan Cameron, knowing the needs of the village, was instrumental in its construction as part of the spirit of cooperation. Just 20 years later, in 1871, Forge Village had grown so quickly that a larger wooden replacement was built across the street. In 1908, the town voted to enlarge the wooden building and to name it after Alan Cameron. A playground was built behind the building known as the Cameron Grove. Generations of school children attended classes at the Cameron School for 121 years until its closing in 1992, when its future fate appeared unclear. To understand the roots of the Council on Aging in Westford, one has to understand the roots of a jovial character who grew up in Forge Village.
Okay, in case anybody doesn't know me, I'm Mickey Crocker, born and brought up in Forge Village.
Mickey Crocker was employed in the Abbott Worsted Mill, where she may have been unknowingly influenced by the spirit of cooperation.
Senior year of high school, I lived in Forge Village, and I was walking down past the mill, and Richard Hoyle was the night superintendent, and he said to me, "How would you like a job for 2 weeks? It's only 2 weeks, but we need a secretary." I know you hear stories about a mill being a terrible place to work. Abbott Worsted was so good, the Abbott family. They not only took care of the children in the town. At Christmas time, we would go over to the Abbott Hall where the movies were. We had movies 3 times a week, and they were 3 weeks out of Lowell. They sponsored trips. I remember they used to get a train that stopped in Forge Village, and they treated all of the workers. We took us up to Old Orchard Beach. They treated everybody to a day at the beach. I can't say enough for how generous and how good they were.
That influence of the way the Abbott Worsted Mill treated its workers lived on in Mickey's efforts to help create social work programs throughout the town.
I started working with community teamwork back in 1967, and in my office, as a veterans agent at that time, when families would come in, we could give them a food voucher, but they had to go to Tewksbury back then for market basket. So we decided to empty out my filing cabinet and keep only dry goods, cereals and packaged stuff. So when families came in, we would give them a basket of food. From that, the welfare office moved from the town hall, moved to Lowell. So I inherited all the welfare people in Westford, and we started doing the food baskets. I think we started out, we probably had 35 people, and then at one time, they do hundreds of baskets now. That's the way we started, and when I see what they're doing today, I am amazed. And again, I might have started it like I start other things, but other people pick it up, and they have made it what it is today.
As time went on, her undying quest to find answers to how to make things happen for her community led her to the creation of the Council on Aging.
In all honesty, that a lot of it came because when I had the Golden Age Club and we wanted to go on trips, and Archie Kennefick from Lowell said to me, you can get money from matching funds from the state. And I said, how do you do that? And he said, well, you need a Council on Aging. And I said, what's the Council on Aging? He said, I'll tell you. So we got the Council on Aging.
The Senior Center's first incarnation was a home on Boston Road until a plan was formed to repurpose the former Cameron School as the town of Westford's Senior Center. In 1994, that plan came to fruition as the Senior Center moved into the building. Eventually, the Senior Center outgrew the building, and an extensive expansion project took place that would see the building reopening in 2010 with larger space for programs, meals, functions, and the lively happenings we see here today. Under the direction of Mickey Crocker, Joanne Sheehan, and Jennifer Claro, the Council on Aging of Westford has become a thriving entity, nestled in the walls of the Cameron Senior Center. In the tradition of Forge Village, the Cameron Center continues today to provide to the residents of Westford trips, recreation, sports, fitness, health programs, a band, movie showings, and all of the activities that our town was built upon. If Alan Cameron were here today and could look around at the activities that take place in the building that bears his name and see how the spirit of cooperation is still alive in Westford, one has to think he couldn't help but smile.